Hola.
I was like,
Hey,
oh,
Carlos.
let me just start it.
How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. How you doing?
Okie doke.
Yay.
How's everything down there?
We are just kicking assets right
Okay.
now, buddy.
I want to get okay. So I want to get into this mobile thing, mobile home thing. I'm still trying to figure out. I got to get together with you, Bo. Come on, help me out, man. Come on.
So don't worry, you're going to be getting quite a bit. Like that's part of what we're doing in season 2. And it's funny because, okay, Autumn, by the way, best excuse ever. That was hysterical.
You guys, if I had not talked to my sister today, I would still be confused. But part of it is baby brain. So I give myself 2 excuses.
I have had that before. It is awful. So yes, I get it. So yes, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Autumn is like 15 seconds pregnant. So she's using it for all it's worth right now. It's ready to go. Right now it's the size of like a kernel.
Look, someone said it's a real thing. Like literally blood is like being pumped to all the wrong places. Well, I guess the right places if you're the baby, the wrong places if you're me.
To be very clear, men have that problem too more often than 9 months, but it just gets us in more trouble. Even babies.
Autumn, it's wonderful. I had a whole trimester like that.
More things. So to answer your question, Carlos, yes. So Autumn, you'll be catch up on the videos. We've had some great things. We've had some really good calls lately in the evenings, I think. But what everyone's going to be doing this season was we're going to be taking what we've been doing in the mobile home automation, and we're doing that through single family, and we're doing that through commercial. So everything that you're liking about what we're doing in mobile homes, you can do as well with us, and you're also going to be doing it through single family homes and commercial assets. So it's just a matter of what you're calling and what we're calling on single family, but we also just do the mobile homes are so fast online. So we do a lot of that online. Single family takes a little bit more negotiating and pain in the ass skill. But hey, Bo, did you have a good day so far today?
It's all right. Like nothing crazy.
Did you do anything?
Package deal on 2 mobile homes and
Wow.
Okay. What was that like? Tell us about that package deal on 2 mobile homes. Go on.
Sweet, like nothing
really.
Just casual conversation. And then what was great is that the guy himself said he wanted to start his own nonprofit. So Jacob how to get one started as long as we could build a good working relationship. And he also said, well, I have leads on other mobile homes. I have leads on some parks as well as, everything else under the sun. So I have actually discovered a really good business relationship with this guy. And yeah, we got 2 mobile homes to get started, closing out 2020. So that's pretty baller.
Yeah, it's really very cool. I'm very excited about it. It's so what we're doing now, so you guys understand the difference. So this is what we have. Let me just show you. Might as well. Where are you guys? I just put you somewhere. Too many windows are open. Does anybody else have that problem? Is it just me?
Hi, okay. Miss Am.
Miss Am's ready to go. I'm just waiting to get this thing streaming on Facebook. That's all. So this is what we're going to be doing. Let me share my screen. All right, so I just sent this to Bo. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting together, I had this for my retail investors, right? So when I do retail stuff, they get a different price. But now I'm doing this for our joint venture partners. So people who want to get in the deals earlier, right? Let me make this bigger anyway, I don't like how that looks. So people want to get in the deals earlier and they take the bigger risks, they get the bigger return, right? Because that's kind of how investing works. Isn't that right, Miss Am? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. So, but this is just the idea of what we talk about. Like, I don't like that slide, but we talk about the benefits to doing it, about mobile home investing. We talk about, I got to change that from white. So I changed the background because it used to be different colors. So now this white look gross. Can't do that. No, no girl. We'll fix it. But this is where it gets interesting. First, we acquire the used mobile homes in bulk purchases. That's true because we're always marketing and trying to buy them. We're trying to buy multiple at a time, right? Then we rehab the homes using high quality materials with today's regulatory standards, which we do because I'm gay, and if my name's gonna be on something, it's gonna better be pretty. I'm just saying, okay? We relocate the homes to high-end mobile home parks, and then we sell or finance homes to the tenant buyer. The buyer puts on a significant down payment, and we work with the buyer to structure the monthly payments so they can own their home over the next 5 years. Here's pictures, by the way, of some of the remodels that we've done. Not so bad. Autumn, are you embarrassed about that?
Heck no.
That's right, baby. You know why that is. That's called gay grage. Everyone loves it. We had gay blue, but it turned into blue balls, and it's a whole different thing. So now down here, we have, this is how the money flows. This is what I want you guys to see. Am I streaming? I don't know. First, we buy the home. This is what you guys are going to be working with. So for those of you who are broke and need money and whatever, this is exactly what you do. So pay attention. And don't worry about screen shyness. I can see you. I can just send it to you. Okay. So just ask me for the email. Anyway, find the home. We market to find the deal and put the deal under contract. And we determine the best exit strategy for that property and our position at that time. Okay. So remember, every deal changes your portfolio. So if I am in need of capital, we can wholesale the wholesale of mobile home, and then those funds come in and build our nest egg, right? But if we wanted to continue to keep the property and do something different, we do something different. We determine the best exit. And once it's determined, we start shopping for joint venture partners, which we are invite only. So the joint venture partners are VIP. I do not go to strangers. JV agreements and promissory notes are emailed and signed, okay? The partner has 2 days to fund the deal and the clock starts. That's because our transactions typically close in a week. Hey, Bo, when are we supposed to close on that project?
Next Friday, if not before.
So if we have 2 days to get this done, that seems like that seems really quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, but so does everything else.
But we have to close in a week versus a month that you get for real estate. You got to like move quicker, which is why we have to know the partners, because they have to know, okay, I don't have time to explain everything to you for this one transaction. I've got to get it and then figure it out, right? So this is something you got to pay attention to when you're actually doing transactions, so you are in the right place. So think about that. Execution and equity. We bidding and marketing for a tenant buyer, setting up the remodel, and the retail no buyer. Once the final transaction is complete, our acquisition partners are paid back, and the next deal begins. So the joint venture partners are acquisition partners. Okay, I'll clarify that too in this. So this is for VIP investors only. So this is what I'm going to be sending them, because we've already got a couple people I'm going to be doing this with. So I'm sending them this so they can actually understand it. We have transactional partners. They provide the capital for just buying the property, right? So usually takes us about 3 months to get a mobile home, under contract, and then fixed up and then sold to another homeowner, right? So that's why we want to say 3 months, but sometimes there are things that hold us back, like especially when we're starting in a new state. So this is like a 3 to 6 months. So you always want to give yourself a buffer as an investor, okay? Always give yourself a buffer. And then we give a lump sum at the end of the deal with interest. So in 3 to 6 months, like, because we try, here's something you should know. We pay out quarterly. So if you buy, and the reason being is because when you have self-directed IRAs and retirement accounts, they're easiest. They give like a quarterly report. So it's easier to pay them out quarterly, right? So it's much easier for the bookkeeping side of it. So when you're talking to people, it's really good to think about that in quarters, because it really helps your bookkeeping stay a lot more organized. Does that make sense? So that's why I like to go with it. Short-term partners provide capital. Now, this is the difference. I want to see if you guys can pick these differences up. Okay, you've been with us for a little while now. I know all of you pretty well. So I want you to tell me. Read these. We'll read these together, and I want you to tell me what the differences are. Okay. So lump sum at the end of the deal with interest. The short-term partner provides capital for the purchase, rehab, and carrying costs. Is a 6 to 9 month agreement, and they share in the profits from the sale of the home. Okay, what's the difference between transactional partner and short-term partner? Think about it. What do you guys got?
The time frame inside the deal.
Time frame to decide deals. Inside, yes, there's a time frame inside of the deal. Correct.
And the fact that they're there just to help you acquire the deal, so they get a little bit of I guess the profits, or as the proceeds. But they're in there longer, they can get more of it, but they have to tie their money up longer, and then long term, of course, even further than that. But they can ultimately benefit more over the long time.
Correct. So if they are, so now let's look at the long term. So this is transactional. So this is kind of like, if you look at transactional funding, it's called a bridge loan, like bridge financing or transactional financing. That's a very common term in hard money lending. So when I do transactional financing, it's usually, it's more expensive and it's for a short period of time. So they usually charge a point or two, but you don't get their money for longer than 2 months. Sometimes they'll only do it for 2 weeks. So if you're borrowing $100,000, but you can only borrow it for up to 2 weeks, you're still gonna be charged $1,000. So you're gonna be paying $101,000 back. Not a bad deal overall if you just needed that money to get into and out of a deal and you needed extra time for your traditional loan to close, right? So sometimes there are issues where like your mortgage or your loan that you're applying for is there's a delay and it takes 45 days. So your contract's up in 30 days. Well, what you do is, Pam's gonna laugh at this because she knows she's been working on this deal with this idiot agent all week. So when they have this issue and like you can't close in time, you get transactional financing. And then they come in, they can close quickly, but for that convenience, you pay a higher fee, right? That's how they make their money. So for that idea, when we do a transactional partnership, it's the same idea. So they get a higher fee, but it's a shorter term position, right? So that makes sense. Now, when you do the short-term partner, notice that's here, share in the profits from the sale of the home. So what are we offering them? Go on. Think, when I ask that question, I want you to think, are they sharing in the risk, or are they not sharing in the risk? Which one are they doing here?
A little more risk than transactional.
Exactly. So if there's a little more risk, should there be a little more reward?
Yes.
Very good. So there's more money in this side, right? Because there's more risk, so therefore they're getting more reward. Now, long term, provide capital for the transaction or multiple transactions, 12 to 24-month agreement, 8% interest, plus percentage of profits from the sale of the home/homes. So let's ask this, 8% interest, is that more than people make in their bank account? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Emily, I see you. I almost heard you roll your eyes. Like it almost like reverberated through the interwaves of the net. And like that was hysterical.
I was trying not to make a facial expression. I really was trying hard
Well,
not
that's
to.
why Jesus gave us Botox. So what is the average person making, Emily, on their money in like the stock market? Not you, but like an average investor year over year in a mutual fund, what are they typically making?
Typically anywhere between, on a good market, they'll probably make anywhere between 8 to 10%.
All right. So is this equivalent to what they would make in the market? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Potentially, right? But then what else are they getting? Carlos, James, Autumn.
Percentage of the profits of the sale of the home or homes.
So this is called being a debt and an equity partner, right? So the debt is the 8%. They're making money on their money. And the equity is based on the percentage of the profits, right? So they're getting part of they're getting part of that whole deal, right? So this is a money thing. Notice the time is longer, but they also get to do it and we get to roll it over in perpetuity. So in that 12 to 24 months, let's do 12 months for ease. So let's say that we do, with this investor, we do 6 mobile homes, right? That's one every 2 months, easy, beautiful cover girl, right? So if they're getting 8% interest, that's fine. But let's say that each mobile home has about $10,000 profit and they get a third of that profit on top of the 8% they're getting paid. Let's say 25% because my dancer brain. So that means they get $2,500 per mobile home. So if they do 6 of them and they get 25, how much is that? $15. Can we do that together? Okay, cool. That's, come on, people, wake up. So it's an additional $15,000 that investor would get on top of the 8% interest. You see how that works? How that's a win-win, right? So this is the cool part. When they get to those funds and they have that extra money coming in, let's say they make $15,000. Let's say they now want to go in and get a mobile home themselves. I don't know how I did that. What's going on? They want to get a mobile home themselves. Well, they can do that. They can work with us and they can actually buy a mobile home directly from us and just pay a fee. Makes life easy. I have it over here somewhere. Boom. Where'd it go? Where'd you go? I had a slide. There it is. See, so like for $15,000, they can buy the deal directly from us and pay a small fee and do it themselves or whatever it wants to be. It's all about giving them control. Makes sense? So partner to remodel as a lender, joint venture on holding properties, finance properties, be passive, let's do the work, all sorts. This is what you guys will be learning this season in Real Estate Survivor. How to structure creative financing deals, right? Because you got to be quick. So you can't overthink them. So, but yeah, that was, is this easy to understand, guys, or do I need to spell it out a little bit more? No, yes?
You can always spell it out a little bit more for me.
No
But you know me.
We'll do that in this season. Let's give Emily the floor. She's only here for 30 minutes.
Wait.
Oh, fine. I didn't know she was on a time frame today.
I'm always
I
on
have
a
time to talk to you
frame.
before. I'm sorry.
It's good. It's all good. It was important stuff. Last night was really fun. I really learned a lot yesterday because, you know, you always learn, right? It was really fun. I really enjoyed yesterday's Real Estate Survivor. Was really, really cool. But let's talk about the market. We haven't talked about the market in a while.
I know, and it's been a crazy week. Has the market even been alive?
The market is
I don't even
always
know.
Very
always
alive.
has a pulse. Okay, it may not be, you know, always pumping and jumping, but it always has a pulse, and this week it surely did. So, anybody want to guess why?
Tell
Shall
us.
we
I don't
play
know,
the
this thing
guessing
that's still
game?
lingering around.
Something, I don't know, whatever, something to do with voting or whatever. But you know,
Oh, did we vote this week? Was that this week? I had no. Why didn't I hear anything about that? I had no idea.
I didn't even cast my vote, unfortunately. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Of course I
But
cast my
anyway,
vote.
how is everybody doing? I know it's been a very, very intense, you know, last few weeks, and you know, we're still waiting. But I hope everybody is doing okay. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, getting some sleep. I know it's hard to because everybody's just waking up looking for, you know, waiting to find out what the results are. But please make sure that you're taking yourself and, you know, find some moment to just shut the TV off and just go find your happy place and just kind of like calm down and do your woosas or your zen or whatever you need to just get away from the TV for a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about the market. So can somebody give me sharing right?
Yes. I remember how to get this back to my screen. My
Hang on, I
other
got
monitor is up, so I'm like trying to. It's weird. So like I've got to move my mouse to the side to get to like a phantom monitor that's actually hanging on the wall above me. So it's very confusing. I'm not used to this.
Oh no, I can't because I gave you host privileges.
Yes, I'm trying to find where I am. Here you are. Okay, found you. Share screen. Boom. No. There you go.
Let's see. Ooh, there we go.
There you
All
go.
right. You guys tell me if you can see my screen, because now
Yes,
I can't
you
tell
can.
if you guys can see. Okay, perfect. So let's kind of take it back to how, you know, whenever I used to come on here to just kind of talk about, you know, economics and all things news, and then head to the charts and just kind of do like our own, you know, analysis of where we think the market is and that kind of thing. So if we just take it back to, obviously this week we had the election, we all kind of knew that. So we knew that there was going to be some sort of volatility in the market. But if we just put the election aside and just look at the economic news that came out this week, obviously today is the first Friday of the month. We had the unemployment rate and unemployment numbers come out. And if we take a look over here at the unemployment numbers and the unemployment rate, they were forecasting, if I open up this box right here, they were forecasting 7.7. It actually came below that at 6.9. Last month we were at 7.9, so we actually are lower from last month and also from the forecasted. So that's where the numbers came in. Yesterday we had our unemployment claims number came in at 751,000. They were expecting 740. If you look at last month, we had 758. So it's a drop from last month's unemployment claims. So that's what we are looking at here. In terms of the Federal Reserve, we did have the Fed meeting yesterday, and the sentiment is still the same from where it was the last time they met, right? They're going to keep the interest rate at 0.25 for the foreseeable future, that being 2023, I think is what they said. 2023, 2024 is kind of like the projection. And obviously they're still citing that, Congress needs to provide more stimulus, obviously to boost the economy, keep the job numbers improving and that sort of thing. So the sentiment with the Fed really hasn't changed much in terms of where they kind of see the interest rates going. No chance of them increasing it in the foreseeable future. They just want to kind of keep everything kind of calm the way it is. So that's kind of like what we're seeing there. Obviously, we are now, for the most part, have passed a lot of the companies that have been reporting earnings. We were heavy into earnings season towards the end of October, middle of October. Now we're in beginning of November. We've kind of seen a lot of them. So we're like almost we're at the rear view mirror on earnings, but there's still a couple that are still reporting here and there. But for the most part, the heavy guys, the big guys have reported earnings, and so we're kind of heading past that as well. In terms of the market and how it reacted and how it continues to react with the uncertainty of the election, and now now we're back to the topics of the stimulus, right? So before the election, the talks was always stimulus package, and then when that came out that we were not going to get one until post-election, then now the focus went to the election. And if I share let's go here. And, I did not mean to do that. I need to change it. If I share my Think or Swim here, and we can take a look at the charts here, we can kind of see how we've been on this range for the last couple of weeks, right? Where we hit the all-time high. Can you guys see my Think or Swim?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we reached this all-time high back over here in September, and then we've just been chopping sideways here ever since then, right? So we hit the all-time high, we fell back, we traced back, tried to reach it up again, failed here middle of October, and then we had this huge sell-off leading all the way up to the election. And then you can see here we hit the almost like a double bottom to where we hit the bottom, the support level here back in September again, and almost reached the same level, and then we saw this spike. Now this was Friday's candle. This is Monday, so we could see that there was even some buildup and some momentum to the upside even before the election. This is election day, and this is yesterday, and this is Wednesday, Thursday, and today. So you can see that we are slowing off as we are reaching this old resistance level here. So technically or technical wise, when investors are looking or traders are looking at the charts, we're just looking at the picture, right? And we're looking at these old resistance levels and these support levels and just using this data to make decisions short term. If anybody was in the market, obviously, as a long-term investor, you probably maybe went to cash and settle and just waited for the election to pass and then get back in, or maybe you did not, maybe you just held it through, maybe you bought some insurance, bought some put options to protect and hedge your portfolio. But as you can see, we've had this huge rally, and now we're here hitting resistance again. And so the question is, are the bulls going to keep pushing it through? And if we clear this old resistance level here, are we going to see that run up leading up into next year, and and so forth? So that's kind of like where we are on the market itself. We are seeing a rotation back into tech. So if we look at tech, where tech had the most sell-off, and we were having this sell-off here, we can see that it had the huge sell-off here, had the huge sell-off, and now here we are just booming again. But the S&P and and NASDAQ, and if we look at the Dow Jones also, let's zoom into just the last few months. You can kind of see how they're almost identical in their trends and in their patterns. The small caps, which is the Russell, has had a little bit of a different trend, right? This one has been lagging the other markets, the S&P, Dow Jones, and NASDAQ. The small caps have been lagging, and they haven't even gone back to the highs where we were back in February. And January highs over here. So, but you can see how it's just been, inching up and inching up and trying to get back to those levels here. But it did break a major resistance level here at 1600. So now that we've broken this resistance level here, we're looking to see whether we can get back to this all-time high that we were here at 1700-ish. So that's what, when we're looking at the charts, and you're just looking at it based on, on technical analysis, we're still going to do what we do. We know whoever is president, whoever, is in or not, and kind of like what Jacob, talked about last night when we did the Resident Investor Party, when you have a business model, when you have a business that can sustain the different changes that are going to happen, then that's how when your business model is tested, that's how you'll know whether your business is going to survive or not, right? And we talked about mobile homes and how mobile homes can pretty much survive different economic turns, right? Whether doesn't matter who's in the office or not. So traders and and technical technicians in the market, the people that just look at the charts, really this is just what we base out of, right? If it breaks a resistance level. Now, obviously we were a little bit cautious this week. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was trading heavily this week, because we obviously had the unknown. But once that dust settles, we just go back to just business as usual. And we just go back to just reading charts and just identifying those support and resistance levels and preparing for those entries and just chugging along. But if we start looking at tech, we can see that there is strength coming back towards the tech sector. If we look at Apple, we can see Apple had that huge sell-off here, but you can see starting to inch back up again. Google had really good earnings, and we can see here now Google is at an all-time high post earnings. So there are those sectors now that are starting to gain strength where a lot of investors had kind of pulled off and just kind of either rotated their money into different sectors or just kind of sat in cash. But we can see that money is starting to come back into tech. And I'm just curious to find out what you guys think. Regardless of who ends up winning the election, I think right now the polls have Biden winning, but where do you think the market's going to be in the next 4 years?
That is a very loaded question.
It's going to do whatever the hell it wants to do.
Right. But based on what we've seen, in the past, right? Based on what we saw in 2008 and based on what we saw in late 2018-ish, and then now with the pandemic, anytime there's a little bit of a spook in the market, right? The Fed's always jumping in to try to do something, right? We kind of opened up that Pandora's box, so now the market almost expects that whenever there's a hiccup, whenever the market sneezes and it drops, that the Fed's just going to step in and do something. So are we going to continue to see that in the future, which means that asset prices are going to continue to go up? Are you, thinking, okay, hey, market's gone up for the last 10, 12 years. Maybe it's time to just pack it in and say goodbye and move into a different asset class. Like, what do you guys think? I'm just curious to kind of, from people from the outside looking in, if you're not, if you're not trading or investing, I'm just kind of curious to see what you guys think about the market.
I think that we are going to see, it's definitely going to depend on well, let's not give my opinion. They hear enough of mine. What about you guys?
I think just from, I look at it as like, I believe the pendulum swings back and forth, so things repeat itself. And let's, let's put into a situation that Biden does pull ahead and take the presidency. I I envision that to be like another bailout, and this possibly be for like the travel industry, from airlines and cruise ships, who are probably going to be needing that bailout, to not claim bankruptcies and huge, like, what's it called, losses of further losses of employment and jobs, right? um, do and I also question, like, especially for the airlines, right? Airlines in particular, they were, they were doing a lot of buybacks over the last 10 years of their stocks. So it's also a question of how much of their bailout is going to be needing for them to rescind what they've done in that avenue. Like, that's what I question, like, because of, where the left stands on that versus the right. So that's kind of where I think the market might have there are going to be some focus on. And I say this because Biden was a big instrument to the auto industry being saved and bailed out in 2009. So that's kind of where I think where they're going to start with the economic recovery process, or quote unquote. So that's where I
Okay.
think it's going to go.
Awesome analysis, by the way, Steph. I really love that. And when you start to think about it that way, so now you think about that sector and that industry, right, in the airline industry, when you compare it to the other sectors that have been just kicking it, right? Like if you compare it to the tech sector, look at what the airlines have been. So this is an ETF that obviously has airlines in it. So it's not just looking at one particular company, it's a bunch of companies in it. So this is an ETF that has a basket of different airlines, right? So if you look at this compared to, the tech ETF, if we were to pull up the tech ETF and look at the NASDAQ itself, look at what the NASDAQ has done since the pandemic and hit the all-time low. But now look at what the airlines have done, right? Why is that? Well, because this has been still a distressed industry, right? People are flying, but they're not flying at the capacity that they were before, right? And if your thought process is, okay, then, I think that, the policies that are going to come in with the new president, what is that going to do for the economy? And you start to think that way, then you can start to say, okay, well, do I foresee then the airlines doing better, right? If they're going to get a bailout and then the economy reopens and we're still pushing towards the economy reopening, are we going to get out of this range and see a boost in the airlines? And you can start to plan in terms of long-term investing, because obviously you're not going to see this jump, overnight, right? So you're more thinking like, okay, long-term, are the airlines ever going to get back to where they were before, where people are traveling and, people are spending money and going on vacations, and businesses, now that they've all been home and using Zoom, will there be a need for conferences and getting all the employees together and having all, all these things, right? So when you look at it in that realm, then you start to ask yourself, okay, do I see myself wanting to, dab into the airline sector? And you start to plan that and process that out. Maybe you don't put, all of your capital, whatever capital you would have allocated to getting into the airline sector. Let's say you just start, maybe you've got $5,000 allocated to that, but maybe you don't just go deploy all of that $5,000 all at once. Maybe you just start to get in a little bit by a little bit as the market starts to go up in this sector, right? We're still in this sideways range and we've been there since June and we just can't seem to break out of it. But could, a new administration boost this sector and they get bailed out or whatever the case might be and see this boost go up? So that's a really great analysis on that. So kudos for that thought process, Steph.
Can I add something else? Because you just reminded me as well. So I'm also part Greek, so I have a little bit of knowledge about like what happened there, right, in the country when they had, needed bailout with the EU. When you just mentioned, you touched on it for a second, which I think adds to the travel industry. That is like travel in general is a tourism type of like sector. So to me, I've always understood that, especially with tourism, it can actually be a catalyst for other industries to boom. That's also why like the entertainment industry has a lot of that. And I come from the actor mentality or the entertainment mentality as well. So like entertainment is also a big factor that trickles into other businesses, restaurants, into tech and other places of tech. So it kind of like is like a place that you don't necessarily think bleeds into other things, but bleeds into other industries. So I think that with the airlines, it's going to be a call for like an increase in like support in tourism, like asking for like there being openness for tourism to take place and incentivizing touristic things. So I wouldn't also be surprised maybe like travel visas to be easier to obtain so that we can bring more people to enjoy the sites of the nation, so that things will happen, so it's easier to create again a trickle effect of money rolling in the economy, which I think will then also be translated in the stock market too. I mean, that's just my own, like, from my perspective of the world, that's kind of what I also see as a possibility.
Cool.
So I have a question now then, based off of that. And apologies, I have very interesting political views. I will not get into them now. And I'm just curious.
Right, definitely in the right place.
I'm just curious if anyone thinks that Biden, because I think most of the people who believe that the coronavirus is a very important situation that needs to be handled. If they think that any action from Biden is going to create new or more restrictions that might affect the market, maybe in a negative way.
I was going to say that, Autumn, we
Yeah.
have to really and truly see what his plan of action is in response to it from the lack thereof of this administration's, and then how that in turn is going to play out with bailouts, any other restrictions they put in place. You know, the CDC said that cruise could start sailing again come, like, I think sometime next month or something like that. So, you know, you'll start having Royal and Carnival and Norwegian all start booking again. What those new regulations and restrictions are going to be, I don't know. But the CDC did actually say that they can go ahead and start booking cruises again. So it's like, we really just need to see what Biden's game plan is going to be to tackle this more so than what we're currently dealing with, and then what that's going to do for us, and then what kind of money and stimulus he's going to be able to get into the economy. And then it's just a matter of whether he's going to get a stalemate by Republicans in the Senate if they don't have a majority in the Senate. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of interesting scenarios that's going to go back and forth over the course of the next few months to really and truly see how this is all going to take shape.
Yeah, but you can kind of see how, you know, that whole industry, right? Whether it's airlines or hotels or casinos, they really haven't.
Hospitality,
you know, it's just been struggling, and again, you can see that even in the charts, where they just kind of all just been neutral for the last, you know, 6 months, right? And you know, once we start to see the reopening and people feeling more comfortable getting out there and traveling, then you know will this sector obviously start to see that boost, and we can see the prices getting back up to where they were in the past. So that's just something to just have in the back of your head. Monitor this space, you know, identify where you would, you know, see yourself as you know, feeling comfortable entering into this into a potential long-term investment, right? Obviously, we're just sitting here sideways. Maybe if it breaks a certain resistance level, you can think about of adding some, whatever the case might be. But build out a scenario of where you would see yourself wanting to invest, whether it's just ETFs, whether it's actual individual stocks. I mean, Marriott had earnings today. And you can see Marriott in terms of, you know, and obviously you can see I've been keeping an eye on Marriott. I've been drawing these lines, but it's still on a sideways range. It's had a nice few days running up to the to earnings today, but it's still in this range. It hasn't broken out, right? So maybe if you're a buyer of Marriott, you're going, okay, convince me that you really are trying to get back up there. And if you break above this resistance level of 110 area here, then I might be a buyer. I might just start to leg in and say, okay, I'm going to allocate a few shares if it breaks above this, right? And then if it breaks above another resistance level, you add more, and so on and so forth. But it's all about having a game plan. It's always being prepared and knowing what to do prior to, rather than trying to figure out what to do at the actual moment. So, you know, now that you are open to this space and you're having those ideas and those thoughts, then start to plan out and say, okay, as I start to hear things in the news, or as you just come and look at the different sectors and the, you know, and the different areas in the market, where do you see yourself putting your money? Which industry do you think will do better versus others? You know, that kind of stuff. So But really, really nice thoughts and ideas. I'm loving this conversation.
One of the things I'm going to recommend people start watching specifically is the environmental sector and future tech industries that are going there, especially since
Go
with the
green, go
now.
green.
Well, when you get to the last part of Creature from Jekyll Island, you understand why we're saying this. You're going to see, especially if universal income and special drawing rights start becoming a thing, then your forex trading is going to be very interesting. Or
Yeah, and it's all about policies, right? So if you think about, like, I don't remember, I think New Jersey was one of them that legalized marijuana. So when you start to think about those ideas and where you see people's shift and mindset moving, gaming industry,
Portland did mushrooms.
Yeah, and the gaming industry and people more open to Maryland passed, the game more passed for us to increase our gaming in the state. So those types of things, you start to think about overall just where you see the market heading.
What about this? Nevada was the first state to actually protect gay marriage in their state constitution. So what does that tell you guys? Yeah, that just happened, by the way.
There are states trying to defy the government so that they can protect their own citizens, give them the rights that they actually deserve.
So if you feel that, so if you were to move to a place because you felt like your rights were being compromised as a LGBTQ individual and you were married, where would you go?
Nevada, or actually New Mexico is pretty good for gay rights too.
They just put their, yes, remember, this is because Nevada just protected us in their state constitution. They're the first one.
But no, they're the 8th state.
They just made it, they just protected it in their state's constitution specifically.
Yeah, but they're not the first, they're the 8th state to do so.
I've not seen that. Every other state has done civil unions that I know of.
I mean, I saw hold on.
I sent it to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
In that post. I thought this was the first state.
Because are you saying there's a difference between like civil unions and like their state constitution, like what they wrote in there?
Yeah.
Got
For
it.
example, Vermont, which was the first state to legalize same-sex relationships in that regard, they actually just made marriage illegal and everyone had a civil union. So it didn't matter. That's why it was fine. Like they used the term marriage if you're religious, but under their state verbiage, it was civil union, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual. So that's why it was such a thing.
Thank you. Yes, I stand corrected. Thank you. I don't know why I got because it's no hate, so the 8 just got stuck in my head. Sorry. Like, no, I saw an 8 in there. What are you talking about?
Right. That campaign has been amazing. I think has been around since I was in college. I love that campaign.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, and it actually totally changed some of my passwords in the past. You can't know what they are now, but still. Actually, I think half of you do know my passwords. But anyway, so if you are worried about your rights and you're homosexual in the United States, where do you think they are most likely to migrate?
West.
Yeah.
What part of Nevada specifically?
Probably Las Vegas area.
Oh, yeah, because gays like their showgirls, right?
And not just that, real estate's cheap over there.
Well, you'll be surprised.
It was.
But also, like, if it's not that, then they go to like Reno, which is also much heavier, like side, which on the other side, which is right because it's like right next to California, like it's like knocking at the door, like.
Exactly. So you have like Lake Tahoe, Reno, and you're gonna have Las Vegas. And what's gonna happen? Homosexuals are gonna flock to those areas. So Mariposa County, that's Arizona, sorry. So when you go to—
That's the funny thing though, they could actually start bleeding into Arizona.
Yes, but remember—
slowly start migrating south.
But your rights are protected where? If you're moving for that reason, if you are moving for that reason, when would you move out? When the following states follow suit. I'm not gonna leave to go to Arizona or wherever they want me to go if I move there to protect my rights until the other states protects my rights. That's why you
has a valid point.
And then I would argue though that there are states like Delaware who just elected this country's first trans state senator. So I believe that person, of course, because they understand what's at stake, is also going to make a case that when they're protecting their state legislature in the state of Delaware, they're going to put into places of like protecting those rights as well, because they themselves are affected by it directly too. So like I put that also on our story, by the way.
You would think, but not necessarily.
So follow me for this is why we're going for this. There's a reason why I'm going there. So Virginia also elected their first the first trans congresswoman last year or the year before. So I'm so glad we're seeing that representation, which is cool. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if an administration, if there are 50 states in the union, and if you live in one, you're protected if you're LGBTQ in their state constitution. Okay, 49 others haven't done that. They might be electing other officials into office, but their state has yet to affect the same change that Nevada has. So if you are worried and you're literally under the gun, I had friends call me on Wednesday saying that if the election goes one direction, they're prepared to sell everything and move in the next 2 months before January and move to Greece. I mean, I've had several of my gay couple friends call and tell me they're looking to move to Canada, Mexico. Greece was a new one. So like they're looking for an escape. All right, so are you going to, as a vulnerable population, feel safe to sit here and wait to see what's going to happen, or are you going to hightail it to Nevada? Which one are you going to do? Like, which one do you feel safest in? I don't know. Frankly, I feel like I'll be okay wherever I am because I have the adaptability in my mind. But you see how that's something that's there? Like that just means for me, there's opportunity in real estate in Nevada.
And I would just say also though, because the way that also our political system works, or like in terms of our judicial system works, just because Nevada put that in their state constitution, if it gets challenged at the Supreme Court level, the Supreme Court is the final Supreme word, like law of the land. So if the Supreme Court says that strikes that's also doesn't. So I could see why some people are still even hesitant to even move to Nevada and just go to some place where they feel more protected altogether.
Well, it could be both, because they could feel protected in multiple states, but their constitution would be there in that state. But remember, federally, it is protected and recognized. So it would still be there. So if they struck it, it'd have to be grandfathered in. It just would prevent further states from actually being accepted.
Well, the other thing too is that they'd actually have to go through the entire legal process to present a case to the Supreme Court. It's not just because they have a conservative majority that they can instantly switch it. It's actually got to go through the whole process. They have to get through every level of the court system to get a case all the way up there to actually even see if they'd hear it. And it's like, you have to be able to provide reason as to why you want to get rid of this. But hey, let's also take a minute to just realize, if Biden wins, you're going to have an African-American woman as the second highest person in charge in the world. That's pretty baller. So kudos to that achievement.
And also, she's biracial. She's African-American and there's an Asian aspect. I just can't remember what, but I know like that's huge. Like that's
it's huge. You have a woman as a second in charge. It's
a woman.
Great.
That's a huge part, right? It only took 240 years, and then a Black identifying woman on top of that, and those and Black people have been oppressed for 400 plus years in this nation, right? Or they so like that's a huge place to say like, hey, woman, that's a huge part, right? It took 200 and Jacob. And a Black identifying woman, and those and Black people have been plus years in this nation.
Yeah, why you got the Facebook stream playing audio, Jacob?
I have no idea. I was trying to find out where you guys were. I'm like, where is this thing? I was like, I want to apologize, guys. I have my monitor down here that I now have two monitors. You're supposed to like get your cursor and then you move over to this phantom monitor because it's actually mounted to my wall up here. So I don't really know where things are at the moment.
Yes, James, happy hour already. Indeed. I agree.
No, it's not. This is actually
Did we really stop from last night though? I mean, has anybody really
Have you stopped since Tuesday?
Right, exactly.
Like just
Actually, I haven't had a drink since our call on Tuesday night, so I will actually admit that I have not drank since the call on Tuesday night. But
Actually, I did a challenge last month where in October where I didn't drink for a month until my birthday, which was really cool. And since then, I've actually not been drinking nearly a lot. Like a couple of weeks, but this week I've had more than I have had. I had like one a day, and at Pam's house I had a bottle. But other than that, works for us.
What's
Anyway,
Pam doing? I left you a bottle. Yeah, I left you a bottle of vodka, the good stuff.
there's
yeah,
a liter of Grey Goose here he can have, and I've told him this, but it just forgot.
I'm not a huge vodka drinker, but cool. Thanks, guys.
I don't drink it, period. It was some friends that came down for a cruise and bought it to take on the cruise, and then they decided
Okay,
not to
that's
take
it.
it. So he's like,
Jessica and
you can have
are
it.
heading your way. That's the end of
Come on,
we're
there's a full bar. Like, seriously.
Good Lord.
Anyway,
So,
Em, thanks for joining us today.
yeah, I know you got things.
My pleasure. Always lovely to see you guys.
So my answer is look for tech companies that are gay friendly in Nevada and start investing in them. That's the whole point I was trying to make behind all of it. Like,
Hey, Kathy,
okay.
how are you? I haven't seen Kathy in a while. I miss Kathy.
Yeah, she's going to be in Real Estate Survivor as well.
Hello, I'm fine.
Awesome.
Sorry,
All right, so we got some group restructuring to do.
because she's already been in there. She's in Marlon's group. Yeah. Yep.
He's like, what?
He's a little sad. We're a little sad we didn't get her. It's all right.
Dear Lord, everybody, this is going to be a good group. It's got a good group of good team members going on. It's really going to be very fun. I'm excited. What happened here? Why are you breaking? So, guys, I think that's everything we need to cover. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything they want to share?
I just feel happy that I got, said that my analysis was pretty cool to be thinking in those terms. So thank you, Em, for giving me like words of affirmation there.
And that's the thing. I never want to impose my opinion on you guys. I want you guys to have that critical thinking and think about this kind of stuff, right? Because we're all going to see the market and see the world differently, right? You might be focused on energy, and somebody else might be focused on tech, and I'm going to learn something from you, and you're going to learn something from me. So I always like to have these discussions because I just want to see where your mind is taking you. And that's what leads to ideas, and that's what leads to taking action. But regardless of what happens, and we talk about this all the time, there's always an opportunity somewhere, right? Doesn't matter who's in office, doesn't matter who's doing what, doesn't matter whether there's a pandemic or not, doesn't matter any of these things. There's always an opportunity out there, and it's just a matter of us just having the right mindset and getting over ourselves and our fears and all the things that we have going on, and just going out there and just taking it, because it is out there. So that's my word.
You mean it's not from us thinking the exact same way and just all believing the same thing? What?
Whoa. I mean, people are different.
So it's
Oh
not
my God.
it's not a baby crying that they have to fall in line. And
It's so interesting. Like, I really enjoy my conversations with actual investors because they can have dissenting opinions and perspectives on policies and stuff like that because they invest in different things. But because they're investors, they understand that they usually don't like to shut it down. They're like, okay, well, why? And they're like, what is your money doing? And why is it being protected this way? Or why are you feeling like it's okay to, why is this a risk? And it's not so much like your political affiliation is only part of who you are. It's just an idea. And you know what? That can change. Like, being one or the other, you can be neither. It's even more moldable than your eye color, right? You can keep your eyes the same. You can't change your eye color. Contacts. Okay, you can't change your skin color, right? Or your hair. Well, okay, I gotta start with that.
color is the only thing you can do.
Yeah, it's the only thing you can. Yeah, you can. I guess nowadays you can change everything, can't you?
You can
Anyway,
change everything. Ask
you can
Michael,
change
ask
everything.
all of them.
Well, that's the point. It's all very flexible. So why people get so like stuck behind one party's doctrine that has nothing to do with it? Not if you are 100% what that party stands for, you're a fundamentalist. I'm just saying. You're the crazies. But I think most people are a mix or both. I think they're a mix in that they have different opinions about certain things. So it's kind of interesting.
And,
All right.
and this is the one area that we only just see one thing. We only see green, right? Like we're just thinking
Yeah.
as investors, and we're just thinking of how we can all help each other and benefit from each other, and at the same time, find a way to make money.
Exactly.
So I think if you just have that mindset and respect everybody else's opinion, I mean, that's why we have opinions, but do it respectively, and just care for one another. At the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to make it.
Yeah.
We
Human.
speak the same way.
Oh, speaking of human, so Stephanie had a friend who has a really cool t-shirt company, right?
Yeah, t-shirts, masks, hats. It's like all like sweatshirts. It's like a lifestyle brand, and it's like this concept about like we are human beings, like and like so and she actually just put out the other day on Facebook like I'd love to partner with who out there like would want to partner, especially for the month of November. And like, I'd love to find a way to partner so that parts of our proceeds also support your missions and stuff like that. And I'm like, hello, we've talked. And she's like, yes, let's do it. So I just did that. So she's cool, great person. And she's just, she wants to like be able to give back to communities. And again, like Sherlock Holmes Foundation is a mission that she does definitely like align with in the way that she did and how she be and it being. And so it's also, I think, a great little like boost for us too. Like we have new partnerships that can like blast out information about us at our foundation and stuff like that. That'll help with Giving Tuesday and just in general, just to put our name out there on and stuff like that. So
Cool.
I had a great lunch before coming on this call. So as I see all your messages about lunch. Anyway,
Everyone's already hungry now.
I have to go, folks. I have another call. And thank you, Emily. Again, thank you for giving me my words of affirmation
Oh, you're very welcome.
making me, like making me feel like, okay, I'm thinking in cool strategic ways, whether they plan or not, but it's still a fun thing nonetheless to look at.
Awesome. You guys have
And
a great
also
weekend.
just to remind everyone, next week's our last week for the year. We'll have 3 guests. Emily will be on Friday. We might have a surprise guest. And then we've got Gina and Travis coming on to talk about Cruise for Cash on Wednesday. And I can't remember who's on Monday right now. But anyway, next week's our last week, and we'll be back sometime after the start of the new year with a new platform and new ideas and a new show. So stay tuned.
Woohoo. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Heck yeah. Bye, you guys.
Thanks for coming to the party.